up, everybody? I'm back with another episode of the Keep Going podcast. Today, my guest name is Ryan Dunn. He is a killer in the real estate field here in Oklahoma City. Started out in new home sales, branched over to being a realtor, started in the off-market scene, and now navigates both sides of his business. He is not only a great father, a great businessman, but just a downright good dude. On this episode, we were able to talk a little bit about his story and kind of the ups and downs that you go through in the entrepreneurial, journey. But we're also able to play pool throughout the episode. So it's a fun, casual style episode where we get to run some games of pool and catch up with the bro. So I think you all enjoy it. As always, keep going.
So I went to college for communications at UCO, and all of their equipment, dog, like top notch. Having to obviously it was camera as well. You had to hook up camera, you had to hook up audio, you had to do this and that. And it was just way too much.
What made you do communications? You wanted to be in sports broadcasting?
Sports broadcasting. Heck
yeah.
All right. So you're gonna do an intro, or are we?
We already in.
Oh, we're in right now.
We're in right now, boy.
We're not.
No, I keep it real informal, but no, I appreciate you, Ryan, for real. It is overdue.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But no better way for us to start than just be playing some pool like we always said.
Sure. And we're not gonna talk about that last game. I don't remember playing.
That one's off record. That one's off record.
Wait, you solids?
Yep. So you went and played D2, and then you went and did the communications?
Yeah, so obviously my biggest thing right out of school was one, I feel like just as far as every other athlete, see where sports take you, even if it may not be a forever thing. And at the time, a lot of high schoolers, you can't tell them nothing. Like you could have, when I was a sophomore, I would have told you I was going to go play in the NFL one day.
Well, yeah, bro, you think that's what it is. Like you think that's the dream.
Yeah, you definitely do. But I had plans at the time, like I mentioned, when I had that injury going into my senior year, where I wanted to walk on at a bigger D1 school, OU. But at the time, I already had this school looking at me. After the injury, they still wanted to take me on, even though I was doing my spring walk with a boot.
Damn.
And I was like, you know what? This is a place that wants to take a gamble on me. Like, let me just go ahead and do it. Alva, Oklahoma, though, man, I don't know if you've ever been there. I
don't think so.
It makes you miss the city a lot. And unfortunately, at that point, after my first year, I transferred over to UCO, and I could continue wanting to play football over there. Didn't keep up with my grades.
So you could have played there, but just couldn't keep up.
I had guys that were on the team in the coaches' ears. Coaches had great things to say about, like the open tryout. But when they're like, hey, man, listen, like, we saw the GPA that you're bringing over with us. Like, come back next semester and work on that. Mm-hmm. And at that point, man, I actually got to have my college experience at UCO. It's not anything like Alva. So I started dicking off, not hitting my 8 o'clocks in the mornings. And
bro, I learned that after my freshman year of college. It's on you, I scratched. No more 8 a.m.s. Like,
no,
that I didn't realize how terrible I would be at attendance. Like,
no,
once I had the choice if I had to get up or not, like, it was over with.
No, and that's the real deal. And the funniest part about it is I lived on campus at Central Plaza my sophomore year, and I had an 8 a.m. at the bottom of my building. And I didn't even make it to that. The first alarm goes off and you're snuggled in. You're just like, man, I don't need to go to that class. It was like an acting class anyways. But my grade reflected it. I'll tell you that. So, look, there's that back follow. Always good for it.
Man, the college experience, I went to a small college because I wanted to play basketball. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have like a crazy experience as far as crazy parties or anything unless I went to OU or something like that. Yeah. So I bet being in the mix and living on campus, the opportunities to not be your best version are high.
I can tell you right now, I was in handcuffs in the middle of campus one time.
Wow.
During it's the weekend. Once you transfer, it's kind of hard. First off, you got to find you got to find new friends. That's the biggest deal. Is you're not going to school with a lot of your high school buddies anymore. You're trying to make friends at the at the gym where you're just playing basketball every day. I used to do that every day. Get my schoolwork done, go play basketball. Those are some of the friends I still have to this day. But, you start going out on the weekends, and that's where you actually start, having a lot of that fun. But with fun, you have trouble. A lot of liquor. Still underage at the time. And one weekend went out, my buddies were fighting in the middle of the street in Edmond. And I get a phone call like, hey, come pick them up. They're tripping.
Oh.
And so I go pick them up. At the time, my first truck I ever had was a white truck, orange racing stripes, and black rims.
Oh, dang, you had a baller truck.
No, it was baller, but when they call and say, hey, they just got picked up by a white truck with orange stripes and racer rims, I was pulled over in the middle of campus. They searched our whole entire car. I'm in handcuffs right there on this little circle roundabout. So, small town, I'm sure you still have some run-ins, but when you're actually having that college experience, that's kind of where it all started kind of going downhill from there. No football, just having fun, slacking. It kind of needed a wake-up call eventually.
Was that the wake-up call, you think?
I think the biggest wake-up call was really just getting off campus. Transitioned over to commuter. From there, I actually started working. A lot of the people I know these days and age know me from working at Foot Locker, working at Champs.
I forgot that was one of our connections, is that we were both in the shoe store scene. Because I was at Finish Line for a long time, like my whole college career.
Square?
No, I would go up there for certain days to be with them, but I was in Norman because I went to college in Moore.
That's right. But
I forgot that. I remember seeing you in the stripes.
So that was one of my first real, like, all right, well, always been a big sneakerhead. This is my new identity now. I'm not playing football. I'm not, fucking off in school. I'm actually making decent little money at the time. It's funny when your first actual job, you're making like 30, 40 grand as a college student, and you're like, oh, I'm set. And every shoe that comes out, I'm getting it at a discount. And then you got friends that'll throw you money just to...
Bro, I can't even remember how much money I made off 11s when I was a Finish Line guy.
You're doing the raffles in the back. You're hooking everybody up. That was an actual fun time. And I had a great deal with one of my good buddies. He was the GM at Qdoba over on Expressway at the time. His name was Tyler Sheldon.
Right down Tyler what?
Tyler Sheldon.
Oh, okay.
But we had the greatest deal in my opinion. He'd give me free Qdoba whenever I wanted, as long as I got him his size 11.5 that came out in Eddie Jordan or Foamposite or anything at that time.
The Foamposites.
Yeah, I used to go in there 3 or 4 times a week at Qdoba, and I would clean the house out. I'd get the brownie too and all that. So
I forgot about the shoe store career.
Mm-hmm.
So how many years did you do that?
I think no more than like 2.
Okay.
It was a year at Foot Locker, and then I spent another maybe 6 to 8 months at Champs. So that was just at the time I was able to move up to like actual assistant manager roles, but they wanted, unfortunately at the time, I'm still in college. I'm still have priorities within school, and they were trying to, stack on a lot more responsibilities and duties that, being an assistant manager is cool, but this is also like a full-time job.
Well, that's where they had me at Finish Line, and they want you to have like over 6-figure responsibility with like a quarter 6-figure pay.
Yeah, no.
And they're serious. They want you to have all. It's crazy.
So that was part of my departure from Foot Locker to Champs. So we had a new DM come in that basically.
Nice leave.
All right, here we go. Big conversation. Am I gonna walk that dog right here?
You're gonna walk it?
All right, here we go. This is the one that matters, right? No, fucking sold it. Set you up to
that pressure.
It is that pressure. At the time, man, I really wasn't taking that stuff serious. Like I said, I was having fun in college, selling shoes. When they started hitting you with like, hey, this is like an actual corporate responsibility, corporate job. We need this, we need that. I started like, all right, well, give me a box boy position. I started working in the back.
Yeah, like freight.
Shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started just transitioning over to that.
Well, it seems like it doesn't even seem like I know you're successful, not only as a father, but killing it in real estate.
Damn.
It's all good. We'll run again.
Zach just got me.
Got that W on record.
On record.
But bro, the real estate's what infatuates me because our stories are so similar, but it feels like we found something that really propelled us. Like,
exactly.
You started in new home sales too, right?
I did.
So we're like almost the same on that.
Yeah. So just to go full through, like how I even got into real estate is after my shoe career. Let me box this up real quick. Am I missing any balls?
No, you good.
Started, I'm a junior now in college, maybe a senior, I can't remember. And after my shoe experience, I took like 6 to 8 months off. At the time, I'm single, no kids, still no responsibility, just go to school. I took like 6 or 8 months off. Kind of started falling off the deep end again. And that was actually probably, you remember your first time that you were ever actually like broke?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was multiple times.
Yeah, there's multiple times for sure, but this is when you're out in the real world. Like being broke in high school ain't much. You still got a home to go. You got, still can go, find little odd jobs and whatnot. But when you're actually, 20 years old at the time, this is the first time I was actually broke. I was messing around with this girl. Nothing was coming out of it, not working, just going to school. And I was like, man, I actually need to start making like some real like money. So graduated and got into, believe it or not, Verizon. So I went from selling shoes to selling cell phones.
Always sales, though.
Here's my favorite connection about this. Me and Alex Moses have that same backstory, too. Because he was also selling cell phones in college. And I was just sitting here, I was like, man, you start off in sales and you start selling stuff that's like not all that cool and all that great. You can sell anything in the world. Like there's people out here selling, how dirty my windows are right now. There's people out here that are selling that. They could transition and probably sell a shit ton of real estate.
Well,
too.
With like the shoes and the phones and stuff, it's something people want or need, but they try to act like they don't want or need it. So when you do like have that sales process, it's pretty abrasive.
No, and it really is. I mean, you would think selling cell phones is, very innocent. You're just going in there getting an upgrade. No, man, it's an actual. There's sharks out there. They're like people hit people over the head. All sorts of shady, unethical stuff going on in the cell phone industry. But get into that, and I started making my first close to $60,000 to $80,000 a year selling phones, and I was like, yo, this is actually kind of different.
Which is an insane amount of money at a young age in Oklahoma with low expenses.
Finishing off college at the time, that was actually kind of different. Same thing. They're like, hey, you're killing it. Work your way up to management. I'm like, sure, I guess. Get management. And I start, I'm on pace to clear over first $100,000 a year. And I'll meet the mother of my kids. Obviously, we can kind of transition there. Have kids, man. I have 2 beautiful boy and a girl, Ivy and Iverson.
Which I got to shout out the name because Iverson's my favorite player.
My favorite basketball player,
so too. I'm sure it was easy to name him.
Yeah. It was, hey, our boy's name is Iverson. Now we just got to figure out Ivy's name. All right, your stripes.
Yes, sir.
Solids. Okay.
You know your solids. You just made 3 or 4 in a row, you fucker.
I got to make sure. I was just talking. I want to make sure that I got to make sure I wasn't. All right, we're in.
So you meet her, have the kids, you're making good money.
So, and here's the thing that not a lot of people know about this story with me and the mother of their kids. Me and her, we were expecting within like 6 months of dating.
It was quick.
I meet her at Meatball in Norman, which is funny. If I'm not throwing any shade, but if you know who she is now, I meet her at a club in Norman, and within 6 months, I mean, we're already expecting, and then all of a sudden, at that point, life takes a huge turn because now it's all right. I need to find my first apartment. Now I'm a manager at Verizon, but I'm working crazy hours that just don't make sense to some. Like some days I'm working 9 to 5, other days I'm working 11 to 6, some days I'm working 3 to 9. Like, is this really like the structure I want to have?
Or 9 to 9 because they need help.
I had some days where I had to pull a full shift. And come on, give me one of those.
That was a nice shot.
There we go. We're rolling now.
Ryan's over here trying to act like he's not hitting shots, but he's hitting them left and right.
So
how old are you when they were born?
Man, I was fresh out of college. I was 22 officially when they were born.
Okay. Young man.
And with a girl who, at the time, I thought I was in love with, but really didn't even know.
Really?
That's
Wow.
the best way to put it. And then we split up, within, that first year. It's unfortunate, it does happen, but you start to find out, who you have kids with may not be the person that you fall in love with forever and ever, and he's going to be in your life. And at the time, it was best that we split. But now at 22 years old, single father, we have 50-50 custody. But at the same time, my work schedule and my responsibilities does not line up with, being able to be there in all aspects of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I just knew eventually I had to find a change. And I knew of real estate at the time. One of my good buddies, his name is Eddie, he was like, man, you should go work at Tabor. Like, look how much they're saying you can make there. And like, look at the hours. It's super easy, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I look into it. I'm like, man, like I worked myself up to a manager here. I have a team of like 9 people underneath me. Like, this is like a big change. Like, this isn't just I'm going to go switch a different job. Like, so much has transpired in the last 6 months of my life. Like, I could switch careers and like completely just fall off the deep end.
And yeah, now you're thinking for you and 2 kids.
Yeah. So like, it makes you really think like, man, like everything I'm going to do moving forward, like has to be my next
best move.
step.
Yeah.
Not only to better my life, but to better, my kids' life. And they ended up calling me, believe it or not. And, they hired me, got me on, did my whole little thing. COVID happened. So now you're like, oh my gosh, am I even going to have a job?
So you were in new home sales during COVID?
During COVID.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know it was that recent.
Yeah. I got hired on in like March of that year. And, that's kind of when it all took off because they cut the NBA season out, I'm pretty sure, in like January. And but they luckily, had a great experience at Tabor.
How long were you there?
Less than a year.
Well, you got to speak to it though. New home sales, when people ask me about how should I get into real estate, there's obviously many ways, like realtor, investor, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I almost feel like new home sales was a cheat code for me because it made me work on all my sales skills and also hear a million no's. Because they walk in your model home and have an attitude because you're talking to them. Mm-hmm. So it really gets you prepared for objections now. Yeah. So I bet you moved up pretty quick at Tabor though.
No, I'm within that less than that year, I think I had like 40 contracts.
Damn.
And that was, like I said, at that point, clearing money, working on the weekends.
Seeing more money than you've seen
before. Money at the same time, bought I think I actually bought a house when I was at Verizon, but I bought another house out in Piedmont because now I want my kids to go to Piedmont schools. Like, I want to start actually like putting all the right pieces together. It's funny because like here we are 4 years later in a completely different house with different ideas of what the next move is. It's an ongoing thing, but there we go. But I hate to say it, but especially in like as we're entrepreneurs now, we have an idea of what we want things to be and how we want things to look like. Mm-hmm. And it was very short lived at Tabor because a part of me was like, man, I'm making great money. I'm learning so much, not only about sales, but how real estate moves and it works, the lenders, the title companies,
realtors,
this and that.
Everybody.
I'm behind the scenes, and that's part of the reason why on a lot of my flips now, I'm behind the scenes of the construction side. Like, I'm walking these houses with, superintendents. I'm trying to learn, like, all right, from top to bottom, how do you build a house? And, you learn all of that. But then I have this sense of unsatisfactory because, of course, don't let me sell again. I'm still working the weekends. I can't pick up my kids from daycare. Luckily, my mom was down the road. She'd have to pick them up because I'd get off at 6. Kids' daycare is over.
Because what is it, 10 to 6 on jobs like that, 11 to 6 or something?
Yeah, it varied, but they ended at 6. Mm-hmm. So even though I was, kind of felt like at the time doing the right thing, found the right career, just still had that sense of like, man, like I can't do this forever though.
It's kind of impressive that you would find that so quick, where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm here, but you're not getting the golden handcuffs.
No, and it's just I hate to say it, but this is kind of how my mind is wired sometimes, where I'm always looking for the next step. And when my Tabor career ended, it's kind of funny because I got fired, but
You got fired?
I deserved to get fired. I did something that I wasn't supposed to do, and but at the time I was like, this couldn't be the best time, because I was already in my head like wired that like eventually I'm going to be out the door. So when I got fired, I was like, all right, well, here we go. This is the next opportunity. That same jump that I took whenever I was telling you, like, all right, like there is no plan B. Like this is my only plan.
Mm-hmm.
It was jump full time into real estate. And
He started with getting licensed.
I did start with getting licensed, but man, I still had that scarcity mindset in my mind. I was like, I still want to work, somewhere that has a salary at first and then work my way up.
You want to find something that can at least pay you some consistent money.
Yeah, because you said that's what I tell a lot of people in new home sales. I said, jump in new home sales. You get paid a salary. You make 1% purchase price. You can make easily $150,000 to $200,000 a year. Why do you want to
with
jump?
some guarantee too? Not a ton, but some.
Yeah, and there's actually a little bit more consistency in it. Why would you want to just jump straight in real estate? As a licensed, realtor, not get paid 5 to 6 months until you actually learn the ropes. So
I don't think people understand that gap.
No,
I had a podcast the other day, and my friend started a pro skills academy for like basketball, football, and soccer players.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying how he was getting referrals pretty quick because he was involved in that community. And I was like, yeah, man, it probably took me a couple of years just to get a referral. One, because my age, and then also the people that would refer me are my age. They're not really buying houses.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes a slow game. I don't think people are really ready for that. They think it's going to be like, 10K here, 20K here, but
no, not at all. I mean, and I think we're in the same boat. Anybody because we get a lot of people saying like, hey, how do I get started in real estate?
mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, I was like, man, like, so I even had this conversation yesterday at the title company. There was a kid that wanted to get in. I was like, just go work for a builder. And they're like, well, what's up with that? I was like, I mean, it's easy, $100,000 a month, $100,000 a year. It's just, you got to go in, learn the game a little bit. And then outside of that, there really wasn't, people would just walk into your model, or you'd get an online sales appointment set up. And, at that
You just
point,
work on closing them.
Yeah, you're sitting in a model home for the rest of the day. Read a couple books.
That's a crazy part, because when I was in new home sales, I would watch hours of YouTube for audiobooks or motivational stuff for sales. Like you could just have that playing and then pause, I got a customer, and then do your thing.
Exactly.
I don't think people understand like the cheat code with new home sales, but I feel like it does take a certain person. So for me and you, it was a cheat code. For Tez, it was a cheat code. Mm-hmm. But for someone else, like the people we saw when we did work there that had been there 28 years, it can also be a trap.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly. And I mean, even at Tabor, there are still a lot of people there that are still working there, but I love them to death. They're making great money. I mean, they're clearing over 300 at this point in their career. But that's kind of really all they want. That's all they need.
I had a guy named Kurt that trained me at Home Creations, and he was the OG, like the killer, 300 a year for so many years. Mm-hmm. But I was looking at him, I was like, man, he busts his tail, works before and after hours, still has a good family life, but the max he can get is 300 plus giving all his time. Yeah. Like I'm okay with less than that if the time looks different. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting for me because I was real nervous about it. Trying to escape it. Yeah, no, I get that 1,000%.
Where'd
you go to it? Oh my gosh, I smoked it. Where'd you? Oh my gosh,
I finally
you
got
better
one.
game it, bro.
I finally got one.
What'd you do on the brokerage you picked first? Keller Williams?
It's right out the gate. I started with Keller Williams. Obviously, it's actually funny. Me and Blake Shelton did a deal, a new home construction deal. And, man, like when you watch Blake Shelton, who at the time was maybe 21 years old, 22 years old, like just swinging real estate, And I'm sitting here in my office, sitting here like I'm making decent money, but like I was like, man, like I want to go out there. I want to do what he's doing.
I want to be free.
So I actually, me and Blake hit it off pretty well, and he's actually part of the success, at least getting me in the door with Keller Williams.
Honestly.
And that's kind of a different conversation of itself, guys. I got one on Zach.
You got quiet to the game, man.
You probably got one on the boy.
Just to connect to that, one of the people I saw when I was in new home sales that gave me some confidence, and I've never even told him this, I should tell him, is William.
William Mahan?
Yeah, he sold a couple with me, and I was like, man, he makes it look good and easy. Mm-hmm. And now that I think back, it was him and probably 2 or 3 other realtors that I got to be around.
Yeah. So William is, I give him 100% tribute to I guess where I'm at now. Because
was he at Keller Williams?
He was at Keller Williams for a long time, and he was always one of the top producers at Keller Williams. When I got in, by the way, I had a whole. I tried to work for Tez at one point. Tez knows this. Not a lot of people do though.
At Rauscher, or with local guys.
With local guys, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So when I was in the model home on it's funny how it worked out. When I was preparing my departure at the time, like I said, I already was in the right mindset of like I already wanted to leave Tabor after I made great money, but I was like, man, there's just so much more out there. I was on the phone with Tez and Kevin.
Yeah, they showed up at my model home
on an interview.
Yeah,
on Zoom, and I had no Wi-Fi connection. It kept cutting in and out and cutting in and out. Finally, I think we just transitioned over to a phone interview that same day. And, I told him where I was at, I told him what I was doing, and, how I wanted to first off get into wholesale. I felt like that was more of the pace I wanted to be. And as I was working on, trying to be a retail agent at the same time. And he didn't hire me. He straight up said, he's like, man, honestly, he's like, I think you should go figure it out. He's like, I think you know enough and you can do enough. Just go try it first. And that was the first time in my head, I'm like, am I just like not hireable? Like, do people not want to, like, what is it? And no, but it was just him like seeing something in me more than at the time that could probably see in myself. I only had a year of new home construction experience at the time, and I felt like I, did well enough, but I still didn't want to just jump full time in. But I was like, man, like I want to start off with somebody like Tez who has the same experience, start off in new home construction, who's killing it, doing this and doing that. I want to work for him at first and see how it goes. Didn't even get that luxury. It was go figure it out, go jump into the pond, dog. So I eventually did start my time at Keller Williams, and it took about 3 months just to figure out, like, no offense to anybody in the Keller Williams office, just wasn't my niche.
Well, that's not your community either, to be honest.
Yeah, it was over. I'm not gonna explain which office, but great people there that I did like learn some things from, but I needed like someone that I could be like an everyday road dog, reach out, call, and I have to like wait 3 days and be like, hey, I got a deal that's under fire, and I kind of did right out the gate. So I transitioned, but through that transition is where I met William Mahan. Then now, who's basically like not only my brother, but like not my broker, but like a brother to me. We have kids that are around the same age, and we spend a lot of time and hang out together. But he was one of the first people that he's just a badass. Mm-hmm. He's cool. He is who he is,
and he keeps it real all the time.
And that's how he gets into the door. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's always who I've wanted to be, because everyone has this little persona of how they should act and how they should talk and how they should look and whatnot. Like, dude, I talk a certain way because that's how I grew up. I got tattoos just because that's what I like.
Yep.
I unfortunately cuss sometimes because I'm scatterbrained and I'll cuss in the wrong situations. That's just who I am.
But I got to say something about that, because when you started new home sales, it's suits and etiquette,
I hated it.
And I remember when I first started new home sales, Tez literally took me and bought me a suit because he's like, hey, we need suits here. And I remember getting out of new home sales and kind of branching out like you did. I branched out with them, but I was like, oh no, I can wear shorts and just look presentable and be myself. Mm-hmm. And then you realize that it's really the value you're bringing is what works.
Yeah.
Like, you coming in and looking like a real person, but then backing it up with facts, knowledge, and real details for them.
Yeah.
It changes the game.
Exactly.
And plus you're earning points because you didn't come in a tuxedo.
Yeah.
Like
no.
it's impressive how different it is.
No, it definitely, and I appreciate that so much more, because that's kind of how William carries himself too. He's not one of these super bougie, uptight, freaking tries to be somebody. In his eyes, him trying to be somebody is not. It's just not him. He won't even try that. And I appreciate that's how I just clicked with him so well, and he kind of just took me underneath his wing, and we were with EXP at the time, and I started right out the gate. I'm over here so worried, like, man, I'm full-time real estate. Like, am I going to make enough to survive, support my kids, do this and do that? And then I made $200,000 my first year.
That's crazy.
And I was so concerned at the time that I was like, am I going to be able to make enough as my own boss, essentially, as my own encourager, my own, like, just be able to build my own foundation and start from there. In your first year, if you make $100,000, great. But like I doubled it, and I was
that's pretty insane, honestly. That's a huge accomplishment.
And it was a little bit of everything, retail mixed in with the wholesale side. I felt like it was at the time I felt like I was on top of the world. So I mean, that was one of the biggest accomplishments right out the gate. And I got to give it to William. Part of that is because he was always helping, showing me kind of the way. I still to this day call him with like, hey, how do I approach this situation? What am I?
Your stripes.
Okay.
It's impressive though that it gave you that persona for yourself, or that that identity, because you do have a confident energy about you. You know what you're talking about. Even though I don't spend a ton of time with you, I know how you operate. So it's cool that you were able to start in real estate on the realtor side and still be able to.
Yeah.
Well, you actually really became your own person. No,
1,000%. I tell people all the time, they're like, yeah, I'm a real estate. They're like, what do you do? I was like, man, I wear every single hat now at this point.
Yeah, what do I not do? But after that first year,
it was a confidence booster for sure.
What's it like with the timing, though, since you are getting some of your time back? Did you notice you were, more present with your kids and things like that, or how was it?
1,000%. I mean, the kids are in daycare now, but man, I'm spending my weekends with my kids. I am every morning, every day I would pick them up. It's just like I'm getting part of that back now, where now my mindset is like I just have to protect that. I got to make sure that anything that I'm doing in the future is centered around them first.
Which you don't get that luxury when you're in a regular job.
Not at all. And it kind of is me and you still, I'm sure, have everyday hassles, stress, and whatnot, or
doubts, whatever.
Yeah, something like that, where it's just like, man, I look back and I'm like, yeah, but I would rather have it this way than kind of the route I had to get in.
What's that? You'll see people post those quotes where it's like, don't be complaining about a lot on your plate when you wanted to eat and things like that. Because it is true in this business, especially since we're more of that hybrid agent that William always talks about, where we do nothing but on and off market stuff all the time. Like you name our deals, there are 5 or 6 different strategies. When you do that, it comes with a lot of mental management and also a lot of different types of objections and people to deal with. And sometimes I get overwhelmed, but when I take a step back, I get a little empowerment from it. Because I'm like, oh no, like I deal with 20 or 30 things that maybe the average couldn't. And it shows, because then time does become that important to you. Because like when I see you with the kids, or, oh, they had to come to work today, like that shit's cool, because my parents worked 3 jobs all their life and I just would barely see them. But then me and you are, well, I'm older than you, but we're around the same age. And when we look back, we're going to be very happy about these times.
No, 1,000%. And that's actually part. I know we just right out the gate, we started from high school straight to college, but man, I was a product of a single mom, dude. I had 5 older sisters, so my mom, 6 kids. My father was never in my life after, maybe 7 years old. So
really?
My biggest thing was just like, man, I cannot, it was that waking up feeling when I found out I was having kids. I was like, man, like I just got to make sure that like I'm in their life every step of the way. I see a lot of, unfortunately, I see it all the time. I see a lot of folks at our age that have kids that don't step up, don't grow up, don't see it as a blessing more than, you know, a curse. And knowing, you know, that my mom went through raising kids, having a father.
You said 5 sisters?
Yeah, I have 5 older sisters. I'm the youngest too.
They used to beat on you, huh?
Man, they used to dress me up as a girl.
Oh, my sister used to whip my ass.
Used to dress me up as a girl and call me Rihanna. It's a real thing. But just it's important to for these kids that, you know, never had a father growing up, and I just want to make sure that my kids aren't another statistic in that standpoint.
Well, I bet they look up to you so much for that.
Oh man, they're so much fun. Even on Tuesdays, I think you saw it on my Facebook last night. Every Tuesday, because they just it's still little things to them. They won't know what real struggle is, unfortunately, until they start getting into high school and start dealing with, you know, maybe bullies or dealing with other stuff. Tuesdays, I let them sleep in my bed with me because they're going to their mom Wednesday and Thursday, but they're just like, Dad, can we just sleep in bed? Can we just sleep in the bed? And I'm sitting here like, it's the smallest little thing in the world that they want. Sure, sleep in my bed. But I posted that video. Ivy's a freaking snorer. Ivy was snoring her ass off last night, all sprawled out, this and that. And I'm sitting here like, man, I wouldn't want this any other way, honestly.
No, I mean,
so,
and that's those little things, like you said, that they'll realize it a little later on. Mm-hmm. But they're gonna probably bring that up to you when you're like in your 60s about how cool that was for them.
Oh yeah, everything. Just that's really what it's really all about. All the small little things that, you know, at the time don't seem like much, but it just the kids enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, why not?
Well, I've got to commend you on that too, because I've got a lot of friends that got kids. I missed my window as far as having kids young. All my friends had kids young. Mm-hmm. I missed that window. Now I'm just intentional. I'm like, I'll be a 40-year-old dad. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But when I look at the men, especially, because I know females with kids too, and I commend them. Mm-hmm. But for my boys, it means a lot, because whether you came from a 2-parent household or a single mom household, mm-hmm. like myself and you, I'm just so infatuated by those little things because I know how important it is. So mm-hmm. when it's like donuts with your kids, I see you all do that. Or even lessons. Like when I think sometimes you'd be posting after you were giving them a lesson, you'd be like, I gave in. But I just know you mean the best with it.
For sure.
And that it's cool because I didn't know, because I grew up with a good amount of friends, but I didn't know that I would be surrounded in business with so many people that are so good like that. Mm-hmm. Like it's business, but you all are friends and brothers to me, but you all are great men. Yeah. So it's pretty impressive, to be honest.
It certainly is. And that's honestly where, I mean, who knows, maybe this can be the next level where we actually, oh my God.
Hey, it's all good. We're trying to do 2 things at once.
I just sold. I know we get caught up in our own life, our own business, our own work and whatnot. All right, down to 1. We got time for one more game.
Yeah, we got time.
But maybe this can be the next step where, man, we can actually really start outside of that being more intentional and just a brothership at that point.
Well, I was literally thinking of it driving over here, and I've told multiple people this on and off the pod, but the podcast has been so much better for me than for other people. Like, I get a lot of love from it, and people are like, oh, man, I really needed to hear that or whatever.
Yeah.
But I get to basically schedule times with people I care about to hang out.
Yeah.
Like this right now, especially in the busy world that we live in.
Yeah.
Like, after we get done, you're going to go pick up your son for practice.
Yeah.
I'm going to head to an off-market opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, we're still going to grind, but we're able to spend an hour together.
Yeah.
So, no, like I said, I know we haven't hung out a ton, but we've done deals, we've played basketball, we've played pool. I mean, we've built that foundation.
No, for sure, man. My thing is sometimes I just let, not necessarily life get away from me. It's just, when you got a lot on your plate, things just slip.
Other things have priority.
No, I get that. But I hate to say it, but there's always areas where you need to focus on in life. And I think one of mine, and I'm completely transparent with it, is just allowing more time for other people, old friends, things like that. I get asked a lot, hey, can you you want to hang out? You want to do this? And then like I'm just really bad at just pushing forward with it. Because, just like I said, you got stuff on your plate. I got stuff on my plate.
Mm-hmm.
If I commit to something to next week, it's next week. And I forgot. I think that unfortunately happened with us a few times. I've accidentally forgot one of my buddy's weddings.
Damn.
I wasn't in the wedding, so that helps out a little bit. But, it was one of those deals where I do need to focus on being a little bit more intentional with a relationship,
with the normal life relationships, not just business. No, I can relate.
Especially because there's so much more value in it.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there that I'm sure I would, don't get me wrong, we're good friends, have great intentions, but we only see each other once or twice, 3 times a year. Those are people that need to be in your corner every single day. So
no, I agree 100% because you don't realize how much energy you get from it. Mm-hmm. So even this right now, I was looking forward to it, first of all.
Yeah.
Then I get here and I'm excited. I've never been to your house. We've only hung out a handful of times. Like I said, we built a relationship. So you say the door's open. I walk in. I say, what's up? I don't ask you where the bathroom is. I just walk to the bathroom. Like, you give me such that comforting energy.
For sure.
That, like Alex Moses, Xavier, so many people in that community that you're like, no, these are just great people. Yeah. So it gives you a lot of energy to spend time with them.
For sure.
And then also on a man's side, I didn't know that collaboration and, that communion with other men in a similar situation as you would help you as much. Because we grew up with the not talking about stuff, but then you talk to somebody, one of your peers, and you're like, oh, you're dealing with that too, thank goodness.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a good thing to help you.
No, it definitely is.
I know we're, talking on this and playing some pool and stuff like this, but I didn't even hit it hard enough. But this is a cool moment that I'm always going to remember.
Yeah, bro. Absolutely.
So, I appreciate you. And I remember when we got to play basketball the first time we were at the Cube. And
that was a long time ago.
I know.
We haven't played since.
But I was just happy that you were a real hooper. Like, we went to hoop, and I was like, okay, at least he's a real hooper. Because I knew you went to PC West, so I was like, okay, well, he can probably hoop, but let me see.
Yeah, man.
And it was cool. But that's why I asked if you were always a shooter, because that day you were shooting a lot.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the deal is, man, that was probably, like 2 years ago almost?
Yeah, that's when Tez was trying to do those pickups.
Yeah, and we ended up going over to the Hive. And, I was over there at the Hive a lot, actually. And then, that kind of diverted as well. But I'm going to be honest, man. I got some dad weight now. I love taking it to the cup. I love putting my little body on someone and taking it to the cup with a little bit of jelly. That's my favorite thing. Around. But, all right, let me see if I can sell this or not. There's a lot of grass in front of me.
Well, no, let me, that was a nice shot. Let me make sure and at least get your story, though. With the real estate, when you started booming with EXP and had that great year, what year is that?
It would have been 2 years ago, I believe. If maybe, no, it would have been transitioning over to possibly the third. Because I started off with Keller Williams in the fall of 2021, I believe. Mm-hmm. Switched over to EXP, obviously following William Mahan's footsteps. And from that point, not even only a year and a half, maybe 2 years later is when he started in Black Label. And that right there is just what he's done over there is absolutely insane.
I don't know, but Black Label is great. They really are.
This ain't a Black Label pitch, by the way.
Hey, it's all good. It might as well be, though, because Black Label, man, is a great, great company. Well, and it's full of people that, just do the right thing.
Well, heavy headers, too. Those are people that, are every day, creating and starting their businesses. But my one of my favorite things that I remember from it is when William was ready to jump that ship from EXP to Black Label, he sat us down in the office. It was like 5 of us. It was me, Philip Church, Tiffany Trimble, and maybe one more. And he was like, I think I want to start a brokerage. And like, we're just in here, like, just pros and cons, like trying to figure out, is this going to be the right step? How's it going to affect, our business as well?
Mm-hmm.
Less than a year later, he's got 100 agents. He's got 3 offices. Everyone is, doing well, and everyone's seeing the value in Black Label. So, I mean, I got to give him his flowers on that, because I was not expecting it to grow that fast either.
Well, there's a ton of value in it, because literally I was a part of it when he was starting it. Once he told me what it was, I was like, shoot, this is it. And if my other broker I had already been with wouldn't have came with something a little better for me, I would be right there with Black Label, because that was the happiest I had been on the retail side since I started real estate.
Yeah.
Because I just love the community aspect, and I love the collaboration, and like you said, the killers. That's something that goes a long way, is not only people like yourself, but so many other people that are acquiring property. But now that you've been finding that consistency, and I know we're running out of time, but
I don't even know it. We still got like 15 minutes.
Okay, now that you've been kind of finding that consistency role, which I literally had someone ask me today, how long does it take to get consistent in entrepreneurship? I mean, it varies, but it takes a couple years to get right. And to see you have, a wonderful home, a wonderful family, a booming career, like, that's gotta almost like not catch you off guard because you're putting in the work, but it's like one of those, not surprise accomplishments either, but just something that means a lot to you, especially like coming from nothing. Because you growing up, going to PC West, single mom household, jumping around college, going from the handcuffs, all those things. But now you're a businessman that continuously makes multiple 6 figures while flipping property, while being a present dad. Like, what does that make you feel like?
Man, honestly, it really is a true blessing. And a testament, because we hear it a lot. Like, one of the first things, there's no reward if there's no risk. And like, people don't understand that, in a 30, 45 minute podcast, I can't go, through every trial and tribulation that I may have faced, trying to get where I'm at now. Like I said, it took a couple career jumps to figure out exactly what I wanted to do, but then also realizing, I was like, man, there's just so much more out there. And this is a really, I'm sure this is a crazy thing to hear, but I still, to this day, just feel like there's so much more out there. But it's in the entrepreneurial mindset.
That's what it's always going to be.
What's next?
Well, especially with the community. Well, yeah. You have to find a way to still love yours, but push for more.
Exactly.
Because in the community we're in, it's hard to be complacent. And you're
1,000%.
You're walking that ball, bro. Good shit.
I hope so.
It's hard to be complacent because you see people and you're like, oh, they just bought a business. Oh, they just bought 20 rentals. Oh, they just bought companies. You're like, oh, okay, hold on. Like, not that you're not doing enough. And I think that's where me and you are similar, is you take it in perspective where you're like, oh no, that's motivation.
No, it is. And so the other aspects, there's, I try to remind myself of this a lot, is, comparison could be the thief of all joy as well. So, I mean, when you're seeing somebody else that is like, killing it, I always, I will give them flowers, but I got to realize that how far I've came. I have no reason to, feel like I'm not of better or equal value, because I was like, man, they're just having their time. Everyone's going to have their time to shine, and some might be faster than others. It's crazy. And I'm 28 and I'm finally having like my time. And then you got kids like Hyberto Pando, Cameron Burke, you got all these other ones that are like 21, 22 that are just absolutely killing it. And I'm just like, I love that for them.
Yeah, but I think that's a huge thing to say, because we talked about it earlier, how people say, how do I get into it, or blah, blah, blah. Like, they don't understand that they're going to get into it and they're going to feel less than if they start comparing. They're going to feel all these things. And we definitely could. If you have a bad month, but then you see someone just had a 6-figure month, you could look at it the wrong way.
No, 1,000%.
Instead of looking at it like, oh, well, there's just more opportunity out here.
No,
so
1,000%.
Those are one of those underrated pieces of game that people have to hear, because we literally are in our own game.
All of us are.
All of us. And if you start comparing to what someone else is closing, or what they're acquiring, or what money they're making, you'll never be happy.
No.
And that's in anything in life, but I think real estate like forces you to figure that out, or makes you go crazy. If you try to keep up with someone's numbers, you're always going to be behind.
No, 1,000%. and that's why I'm a big cheer from the sidelines. Like I love seeing everybody win, have their own moments, even in their own little ways. There's folks out there that are just straight retail agents killing it. There's folks that just only mess with wholesale, killing it.
And they only wholesale.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's just like, where are you walking that? Here we go.
I'm going corner pocket.
The walk off is crazy.
I had to walk off because I don't like that alarm going off in the game. Well, we'll talk for a second and wrap it up. That was good running games with you, though. We've been
Well, by the way, hey, Zach said that he's going to come into my house and clear me, so I think he kind of just did.
No. You got some W's. I didn't even want you to get a W, to be honest. But no, I was saying, like, when you were mentioning Cameron and Eddie and all of them, like,
man, it's ridiculous.
I was literally talking to someone today. I went to a networking event, and he's just getting into entrepreneurship, and he was panicking. He's having all these doubts. And I was like, bro, you got to run your own race. You have to be happy with what you accomplished that day. And he's like, well, what if, like, I have appointments canceled? I'm like, then go pick up your kid early from daycare and have a dad day.
Yeah.
Like, live.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's what entrepreneurship is living by your design. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to have days where you work sun up to sundown, and that's good. You need those. But there's also going to be times where you get to be a human, where you're not going and just clocking in and going, let me do my 80 hours this week.
There's so much value in that itself right there.
You have to make decisions.
Yeah.
And I think some people aren't okay with that. So then when I see someone like Eddie or Cameron or even yourself and other folks, I'm like, thank goodness they found a lane for them, because I know how it changed my life and I know how it's changed your life. And when I see other people changing theirs constantly, like Edward and Jesse, I remember when they first brought on Hector.
Dude, I just remember I remember meeting Edward for the first time.
Me too.
And he was just like, man, like I'm just trying to figure out my way. He was doing photography for a lot of the listings.
Yeah, he did several of mine.
He told me his story, and then now him and Jesse are clearing huge months. And I'm just sitting here like, he has my flowers as well, because seeing everybody create their own lane, that's man, how is that not a testament?
Well, I mean, and how is it not motivation? And that's why I go back to that mindset is you could look at it the negative way. You could see Alex picking up 9 homes in a week and be like, oh man, I'm a hater. Or you could just be happy that you know people that are great human beings, but know how to operate at a high level. Like when I walked into that Let's Link event and I saw you at the bar, like, I can't even lie to you how much joy I got. And we don't even kick it like that. But I just really mess with you that when I see you, I'm like, man, that's a good guy. And I'm glad I'm connected to people like that. That just help not only give me energy, but it just lets you know you're on the right track. Like I grew up and people would be like, it's who you know, it's who you know. And then I look at who I know and I'm like, holy shit, like this is exactly what it's supposed to be. And that's something else with running your own race is not only not comparing, but you can't wish it was another way. Like 1,000%. You just have to take it, because I know there was times if I was to come into where you were living back in the day, it wouldn't me be walking into the high ceilings house, looking out big windows to a pool with a pool table.
No, 1,000%.
And I mean that like in a humble, correct way, like 1,000%. Not even a brag. Like I pulled up to your house, and that's another thing. Thank you for letting me in your house, because I think the pods in the house are the most intimate, because you're really bringing someone in your space. But I pull up, and just knowing where you come from, I know it wasn't pulling up to a freshly beautiful painted house with a truck out front. And that stuff means a lot to me.
No, it definitely means a lot to me too. Because like I said, it wasn't that much longer, maybe less than 5 years ago, life was completely different in every aspect of life. Through the highs and the lows and everything in between. So I appreciate you more for you noticing that, but at the same time, being able to sit here and say that you're my boy, and then also everyone that has this a very similar story as well. Like, how can you not just give someone their flowers?
Well, yeah, and it makes you respect them even more. Like, you respect the people that come from a great foundation and then, create something from it.
For sure.
But the rags to riches is just more motivating.
No.
When you look at someone and you're like, oh, you had the single parent household. Oh, you jumped house to house. Oh, you had minimal meals. Like, you have all these things that you can't earn those. Like, and when you meet someone like that, it just locks you in. And then I just go back to how you are as a man. When I watch you operate your business, operate your fatherhood, how people view you, how I view you, how you obviously view yourself. It's just a testament for like years to come, because I'm 31, or I'll turn 32 this year. So I'm a little older than you, but roughly the same age.
Yeah.
And this is that time you're going to look back at and be happy that you made those connections. But
100%.
I know on the pod, we're going to have to get you on more than once, like it's been like for most of my guests.
Yeah.
But I know, and I'm sorry, this alarm keeps going off.
Good, man.
I know this was a little more unconventional, playing pool and getting to chat, but I know you were just kind of wanting to free ball it a little bit and make it work, and I hope I made it comfortable.
No, 1,000%, man. I enjoyed my time except getting my ass whooped.
Hey, man, we'll let that slide.
Well, hey, I'm kid free this whole entire weekend, dog. We can find.
I got some freedom this weekend. I might have to slide back by.
Hey, watch football, hang out, not be in the model home.
Yeah.
So that's a luxury right there within itself.
Well, I gotta say, man, like I mentioned, I really do appreciate you, but I always like to open it up at the end just to see if there's anything you wanted to say, or if you had a question for me, or just anything at all before we wrap up.
No, man, I appreciate you, and Godspeed to just the connections that you're going to build through this podcast, because I've already seen you have a lot of big heavy hitters on here, and everyone that's on there is also in your corner, dog, and that's a huge advantage right there.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I think I told you from the jump that I'm excited to see what comes out of this. But every week when you're posting somebody new, I'm like, oh, is that Ryan Reels?
Yeah.
And I know you guys have a good relationship, but just like seeing some of these other big names as well, I'm just like, man, like I good for him.
And it's just the start. So I really
There's a lot of value in it too. There's a lot of value in it.
Thank you, man.
For sure, dog. So,
well, because I see it, like, people could look at it in different ways. They could be like, hey, get you a list of questions and it's just efficiency only.
Yeah.
But then me and you talk about stuff and you hit pieces of your journey that are going to speak to multiple people.
Yeah.
And I think realness prevails, whether it was William Mahan, Tez, you, Eddie, all them. The realness is what makes you stand out. And I just can't really say, how much I appreciate you all giving me the time to be on this, because it's a passion project for me. And then I reach out to people I know or people I'm getting to know, and the reception is there. Yeah, so
absolutely,
I appreciate you just
for sure
being on the journey.
Well, I appreciate it. We'll definitely have to you have my word. We're going to find a way to be playing pool and hanging out a lot more.
I got you, man. So we're going to get out of here. Appreciate y'all.
All right, y'all. Appreciate you very much.